Okay guys, so welcome to Cork ETB Christmas Cookalong. Couple of things I'd like to get out of the way before we start. It needs to be very clearly understood that the camera puts on 20 pounds, okay? And I'd like to give a big shout out to St. John's College film class who are recording all of this and whose job it is to make me look good. So if they're unsuccessful, you can blame them, not me, okay? So, right, what am I going to do today for you? My theory on cooking is the cooking is the fun part of it. The planning and the organising is the part that you do that needs to be sorted out so that when you do get to cooking, you're enjoying yourself. Just by the very name of this, Cookalong, Christmas Cookalong, first thing I'm thinking, huge stress, Christmas dinner, people getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to organise the turkey, all that type of stuff. Now, I've stayed away from turkey in this. What I'm doing is I'm going to do a nice fillet dish, okay, that you can entertain your guests with, you know, Christmas Eve, St. Stephen's Day, you know, New Year's Eve, nice dish for New Year's Eve. It's quick, it's easy, there's not a lot of ingredients, but the key is all the ingredients are of the highest quality, okay? So that's something you're going to hear me mention quite a lot as we're going along. You need to take the stress out of cooking, you need to enjoy it. As you see, I have come prepared to relax, so hopefully the rest of you are in the same mode, okay? So to get started, we're going to do a fillet of beef. Now, this fillet of beef was prepared by the butchery class here in Westside Training Centre. I'm going to wrap it in some Serrano ham. Now, you can use any cured ham, okay? Don't get bogged down. A lot of people get bogged down with details in recipes. Recipes are only guidelines at the end of the day, okay? You know, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, change it, try again, try something new, okay? So I'm using Serrano ham, so some cured ham. We're going to use very simple vegetables. I have some spear broccoli, or stem broccoli, and some asparagus spears, okay? Both high quality produce. Some wild mushrooms, okay, available in any supermarket, okay? Some onion. I'm going to use a little cognac. I have a little gravy mix made up. Now, what I have here is a homemade gravy. Don't get stressed out about that. You know, you really don't need over Christmas to be getting bones and making fresh gravies and all that type of stress. Just use a little pack of gravy. It'll get you over the line for this dish in particular, okay? Some nice seasonings, and I'm going to accompany that then with a garlic, cheese, potato, and just for a little twist, I'm putting some turmeric and some chili flakes into it, okay? So, I feel, looking at people over the years, where mistakes are made in cooking, particularly around Christmas, is people dive in and do either what they like to do first or what they think is the most important part first, and that doesn't always work out. So from a timing perspective, what we're going to do is we're going to get the potatoes on first, then we're going to start cooking our meat and our vegetables around the same time, okay? Most of you may or may not have one of these in your house. It's a probe. I cook with it all the time, okay? And I'll explain to you why. Now, you don't have to run out and buy one, but it gives you a little insight into why I use them. One of the biggest questions around Christmas time is turkeys. You know, why is it dry? If you know the temperature of the turkey as you're cooking it, you then know when it's ready, okay? Not like the old days where it was put in for 5 hours and then another half an hour just in case, and just in case, we'll give it another half an hour. Once it's ready, and this is the science behind it if you use probes, okay? But I'm going to start off with the potatoes, as I said. So I have some boiling water on here for my vegetables, and what I'm going to do with the potatoes is I'm going to get my cream. And I have some pre-cooked sliced potatoes into that. I'm going to warm that through. And into that, while it's warming through, I'm going to put some chili flakes. Not too much. Now, it's entirely up to yourself. Some people love spicy food, some people don't like spicy food, okay? So just a little pinch of chili flakes. Turmeric, good for all that ails you, apparently. And just a little tip, you see the way I took the top off and topped it off like that? Don't ever do that, because it just comes out in a clump, okay? It didn't that time. So use the little things on the top here that are there to keep you under control, all right? So I just want to warm that through. I'm not really bringing it to the boil. Now, a little trick, not so much a trick as something we do in the industry. I presume none of you have one of these at home, okay? Serious piece of kit, lovely oven to work with. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cook the potatoes in the pot, in the oven, okay? The pan, everything is going to go into the oven. At home, what I would recommend is obviously once your potatoes are warmed through, you take them out, you put them into an oven-ready dish, and then pop that in the oven. This is only going to take about 20 minutes in the oven, so I just want to get it warmed through. If anybody has any questions they want to come back to me at the end, I'm going to open up to a question and answer. If there's something you really need to get off me during the demo or the cook-along, just let us know, and my sound engineer, it's great, I've been trying to say that all day, my sound engineer will let me know. Now while I'm waiting for that to warm through, I'm just going to get a pan on for the fillets. Now, my cheese is going into the potatoes. Now that is going straight into the oven, okay? If you do decide at home to do it in the pot, you make sure you don't have a plastic handle on the pot, okay? And if you nearly make that mistake, don't worry, I've seen people who've been at this for a long time make that mistake. So, here we go, the star of the show, okay? Our fillet of beef. As I said, prepared by the butchery class here in the Westside Training Centre. About 5 to 6 ounces of fillet. Now, when we're cooking meat, you know, one of the issues that may come up through the years is meat getting tough. Now, the reason that happens is if you think about it, meat is a muscle, and if you burn a muscle, it tenses up. If you burn your hand, it tenses up. So if we cook the meat too hard, too fast, it just tenses up naturally, and then it becomes tough. That's why you'd often hear chefs saying you need to rest the meat after. It gives the meat a chance to relax. I have a little way of cooking these that I think works really well, particularly in your private house, you know, where you're not under the time pressures of a restaurant, where I just start off the steak nice and slowly, and then pull it off when it's really still practically raw, but just sealed, and let it kind of sit in its own temperature and warm through slightly before we finish it off, and I find it gives a much tenderer product, okay? Now, these are going to be wrapped in Serrano ham, but I'm not going to do that yet, because the Serrano ham will burn while the steak is cooking, okay? So I'm just going to get these on. A little bit of oil in the pan. Nice hot pan, as you see. Now I'm going to cook 2 of them, but I'm only going to plate 1, because I haven't eaten yet today. So I'm going to stick with this for a couple of seconds, because I don't want it to burn. A little bit of seasoning, some salt, some black pepper, we get it turned, so you see we're getting a nice little colour on the outside. It's what we call a caramelising. Now, the name caramelising, to be perfectly honest, I think it came from a chef that just burned something one day and he was looking for a posh word for what to give it, or a posh name to give it. But yeah, look, we all know the bits in the bottom of the pan taste lovely, you know. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that to one side and just let its own temperature kind of come through it, okay? And start to cook nice and slowly. A rare steak is 51 to 55 degrees if you use one of these, okay? A well done steak is 61. So that meat now is probably at about 30 odd. Not even that, 22.9, 23. So I'm going to leave it just sit there, and it's gradually going to start creeping up to around 28, 29 degrees. And then when I give it another couple of seconds, it's going to start creeping up to 30, 35, 40 degrees. And then the last touch is going to bring it up to the 55 or 60, whichever I'm looking for. And almost in spite of itself, it's after getting cooked without knowing it happened. Sneaking up on it, okay? Now we're just going to have a quick look here. Yeah, that's cooking away nicely. Now what I want to do with our vegetables is I'm going to blanch them, okay, at the very end, take them out and then just toss them off in a little bit of butter, okay? So that's a very, very quick, simple dish. So the next thing now I want to get started is our sauce, all right? Now, sauces can make a dish, okay? Now, I'm not a big fan of all these big, thick, rich sauces that are draped over food, all right? If you get a nice fillet, well, hopefully it'll be a nice fillet. You get a nice fillet and you have a bit of sauce with it, you don't want to really just cover it and coat it. The fillet is the star of the show. You really don't want to cover it and coat it with all this type of stuff. So, you know, sometimes when I'm eating in a restaurant and I see food with lots and lots of sauces covering it and coating it, the natural instinct question for me is, what are they hiding? Okay? So I'm going to get a little bit of onion on cooking here. Where's my oil? There we go. Now, what I want to do here is I don't want to fry it hard. I just want to, what we call in the industry, is to sweat it out. It's kind of slowly cooking it, so we're releasing the flavors, okay? We're not interested in speed here. We're interested in quality. So we're releasing the flavors. We don't want it too hot. You know, if you fry onions really hard, they're going to go black. So nice and slow. They even start to slightly change colour, okay? But not to a brown colour, just more like translucent, all right? And then we have our wild mushrooms, okay? Because we're using quality ingredients again, like wild mushrooms are a fabulous product, we really don't want to add a lot more to it. We don't want, you know, piquant flavours, big mustards or vinegars or anything like that. We just want the mushrooms to do the talking. So in they go. You might notice I don't use a lot of oil either. You know, a little drizzle of oil is all we use for the steaks, a little drizzle of oil for the sauce. We use too much oil in cooking. We don't need it, right? A lot of my own cooking at home, I do it in non-stick pans, and I wouldn't use oil at all. Like I would cook a bit of salmon without oil. There's loads of oil. Any of the oily fish, you don't need it at all. Just a decent non-cooked pan, or sorry, non-stick pan. So we have our onion and mushroom there. Now I'm going to add a little brandy to that. Now, this is important, so everybody pay attention. Are you all listening? Don't ever pour brandy or whiskey or the high alcohols from the bottle into a pan over a gas flame. Because what will happen is the flame is going to travel from the pan back up into the bottle and explode in your hand. So you always take the brandy out and put it in one of these, okay? And we get a little flame. If you did that straight out of the bottle, that flame would be in the bottle and you would be in serious trouble. Or I would be for not telling you. Okay? And into that now I'm just going to add my gravy. Let it come up to temperature. Put my fillet back, give it another couple of seconds of heat. Leave that to one side. Job done. Okay? You might think this guy's a lunatic, he's getting ready to plate already. Not yet, just getting organised. So just a tiny touch of oil on the fillet, just to get a bit of a sizzle going again. Now, while that's cooking through a bit, I'm just going to get my serrano ham out and prepare it. What I'm going to do, as you can see, is just arrange it into a couple of strips. I'm going to wrap it around the fillet and then just secure it with a cocktail stick, okay? Don't forget to take the cocktail stick out at the end. All these statements might sound very obvious. Trust me, you would be amazed. Okay? Again, using my probe. Now, don't freak out on the other end if you don't have a probe. Just follow the timing on it. Because eating meat, beef in particular, or lamb, it is a personal taste. If you like it well done, you like it well done. If you like it rare, you like it rare. So we're up on 35, 37 degrees there. So just give it another couple of seconds. So my potatoes now getting nice and creamy and cheesy. All very bad for you. It's Christmas, remember? You will not be getting calorie counts today. Now, we're looking at about 45 degrees on that. So what I'm going to do is take them off. Hot glue stick. Secure my ham. Might put a second one in just to be 100% sure it stays in place. That's your one. This is my one. See where mine is smaller. Now, once this is plated, you can all sit down and relax. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to do a few different canopies, kind of my own idea on canopies, my own take on them, and a little panna cotta dessert, okay? Who took my tongs? Back on the pan, low heat, and there we go. Now, our vegetables. See the way it's all kind of coming together in the timing? Like if we did our vegetables first and then we started doing everything else, vegetables are going to be cooked to death. We don't want to have the meat fully cooked and then just start on everything else. So the potatoes was the slowest, that went in first. We take it nice and slow with the meat, so that started to go on next. And we have our sauce then, which was fairly quick to put together, but will hold. So there's no problem in making your sauce and having it there. The vegetables won't hold. So we want everything else to be practically ready before the veg goes on. Okay? So, am I ready? That's the question now. I'll have one last check. Ah yeah, we'll be there. We're at 47. Veg in. Okay, so this is where we start pulling it together. We give our plate a quick little warm in the oven. We're going to take our potatoes out. If they're in the oven with a pot and the handle, make sure you use the cloth. Okay? Yeah. Pan on, I'm going to put a few knobs of butter into that. That's for our veg. There we go. Yep. Now that's our fillet. We're going to bring our sauce back up to temperature. Our vegetables are nicely blanched there. We don't want, particularly with green vegetables, we don't want to overcook them. You lose all the nutrients, all the value. Now, off the heat, coat it in the butter. That's that done. We have our sauce coming back up to temperature. And now we get ready to plate. So we have a nice little dish here for serving our potatoes. See the colour? Cheesy, garlicky, creamy, turmeric. Loads of cream, loads of buttery goodness, all the major food groups. There we go. Now, just going to arrange our veg. Nice and simple, nothing overly complicated. Now with our mushroom sauce, I knew there was a spoon in there somewhere. Let's leave that there for a second now. We get our fillet out. Nicely centered on our veg. Some of our wild mushrooms. Can they smell it on those cameras, guys? Because this is, well, I was always going to say this is amazing. Now, you can't seriously tell me if Nanny and the uncles and the aunts and all that come around on Christmas Eve and you dish that up to them, that they're not going to be suitably impressed. So there we go, guys. Our fillet of beef, wrapped in serrano ham, broccoli spears, stem asparagus, wild mushroom sauce, and our cheesy, garlicky, turmeric-y, creamy potatoes. Okay? So while you're digging into that on the other side, I'm going to put together a few canopies for you and little things that you can impress people the following day. Okay? Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a smoked salmon. I'm just going to move these over to one side and we can put them all out together for you to have a look at the end with the canopies and the dessert. First thing I'm going to do is a panna cotta. Panna cotta is a classical Italian dessert. Genuinely, I'm not sure it could be any simpler. Always clean down. Head chef gets very upset if you don't clean down. Now, there we go. So, for our panna cotta, very simple ingredients: milk, cream, vanilla pod, sugar, and we have some berries for decoration, and leaf gelatin. So I'm just going to get I have the milk and cream in here mixed together. I'm just going to get that on and warm it through. Now we don't want to boil it, we just want to warm it through. And because of the, sorry, I'm talking to the stove, because of the high fat content, it would burn very easily, so we need to keep an eye on that. With our vanilla pod, slit it lengthways. Scrape out the seeds. This is where the glasses, I knew I had glasses for a reason. There we go. Scrape out all that lovely seed and into the milk and cream mix. There we go. Now, okay, so we have our milk and our cream mix on, warming through with the vanilla in it. In here I have 2.5 leaves of gelatin, which have been soaked in water. Okay, I just put them soaking before we went live. About 10 or 15 minutes will do that, okay? We have a little plate for presenting it. And we have some berries for decorating, okay? Now, as you will see, I have 2 here that were made earlier, so that will give you an idea what they look like when they're done. Now. Okay, so that's just warming through. So now we get our gelatin. Straight into it. Now whisk that through. Now it is highly likely, very possible that there will be little bits of the gelatin won't fully dissolve. So what we do is we're going to strain it into a jug. Okay. Now we're going to strain that into a jug to be 100% sure that we get any bits and pieces of gelatin out of it. that. Now, what we do at that stage is we get 2 containers. These are 2 that we've done earlier, okay? You get 2 containers like so. Now, you can use ramekins, you can use glasses, you can use wine glasses, martini glasses, anything like that. Pour literally just from your jug, pour into whatever filling at the amount you require or wish to have, into a fridge and leave it set overnight, okay? So once that mix is set overnight, you end up with this, okay, which is a set mousse. And then what we have here is we have some berries, some raspberries and some blueberries that I cooked down in some sugar and let go cold. So this was done last night and just came along with me today. So literally, get our panna cotta, berries in on top. There we go. And we're just going to finish that off with a sprinkling of snow. But we're going to take the cap off first. Okay. So there we have our panna cotta, which is our dessert. We're going kind of, not necessarily wrong way around, but we have our main course first, then we have our dessert. Now I'm going to show you a few canopies. My kind of variation of canopies. This is something I do myself quite a lot at home, to be honest. If we're doing parties, you know, outside parties or anything like that. So I have 3 types of canopies here. I'm going to do a smoked salmon roulade. I'm going to do a black pudding and red onion marmalade. And I'm going to do a simple bruschetta of mozzarella cheese, sun-dried tomato and tomato. Now, this is my secret weapon, okay? What I have done here is I have taken a very simple French steak, cut it into, as you can see, nice generous slices. It's what we would call croûtes or croutons. And then I have made a mix of pesto, but quite a liquidy pesto with a lot of olive oil in it. And I've soaked these in the pesto and then baked them in the oven, not toasted them, okay? What the reason for that is, these were done last night and they're still moist. Okay? Because there's nothing worse. Well, I'm sure there's lots of things worse, but one of the worst things when it comes to canopies is you get a nice looking canopy and it's on a piece of toast and you bite into it and the toast is rock hard, okay, or stale or dry. This keeps it nice and moist, so you don't have to worry about doing this on the day if you want to do these the day before, and you can put whatever you want on them. And plus you have the flavor of the pesto in there, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I have 2 of them which are going to be warm and 1 which is cold. We don't need that, sorry, get that out of there. Now I'll just give a quick run down to the end of it. We had our panna cotta mix, which we made. As I said, you can put it in any sort of a vessel you wish. You know, martini glass, wine glass, anything like that. Even just a container. I served them actually one time in the restaurant in a cup and saucer with a teaspoon. Okay, just something different. Set overnight, and then I have the berries, which was literally just, in this case, blueberries and raspberries, a little bit of sugar, small bit of butter, cooked down and let go cold overnight. That's topped, and then I topped it with some icing sugar. As simple as you like. It really is a go-to, particularly around Christmas. I think it's excellent. No, you don't want to spend hours and hours in the kitchen. None of this is going to take a huge amount of time. So onto the canopies. I'll very quickly explain again, just in case you missed it. French steak, rather than just toasting them, nice generous slice, I soaked them, not just dipped them, soaked them in pesto. And what happens is bake them then in the oven, again rather than toasting, and they stay really moist. Like any of the crew that are here can see they're still bendy. They were done last night. So the ideal thing for that, or where that's an ideal, where you have an ideal use of it, is you don't have to be stressing out on St. Stephen's Day or whatever day you're doing it, trying to get it all ready at the same time. It's all about preparation, so, and I think the flavour is excellent in these. So I'm going to do 1 cold and 2 warm. I'm not going to say hot because they're only warm. I'm only warming them through, okay? So I get my board out. The cold I can place straight away. Excuse me now. And that's from talking too much now, nothing else. So what I have here is, I got a goat's cheese log, okay? Now you don't have to get a goat's cheese log, you can just get some regular goat's cheese and spread it onto the smoked salmon. But what I did was I layered out my smoked salmon, put the goat's cheese log in it, and then rolled it in the smoked salmon, all right? And what I have, hopefully, is a nice symmetrical circle. So, you take off the end, that's for me. So we have a nice little round piece of smoked salmon on our pesto. They're a generous sized portion, and I do that on purpose. I think particularly around Christmas and that, you know, you're as well off to give 2 or 3 types of canopy of a generous size rather than try and give 10 and all really, really small and finicky, for want of a better description. Okay? So your goat's cheese, your smoked salmon, your pesto, and your crouton. Nice combination. Okay? The next two, one in particular, might surprise you. What I have here, I'm going to place my croutons again. I'm going to do 3 of each, so 6 croutons. I have some cooked black pudding. This is still warm on top. 3 will do. And a little spoon of red onion marmalade. Now you have the recipe for the red onion marmalade, and what I did was I cooked off the red onion in oil and butter with the balsamic vinegar, sugar and honey, and on a real low heat for about an hour. So it is actually like a marmalade. That goes on top. Again, nice and generous. Now what you have here is you have your pesto flavour in the bread. You have black pudding, which we all know is, depending on what part of the country you come from, it's the best black pudding in the world. I'm a Kerry man, as you might have guessed, so the best black pudding in the world is in Sneem. But I'm sure as I'm in Cork, you might have a different opinion on that one. Okay? Here then, I'm going to, some chopped tomato. Slice of mozzarella. We all know Cork is famous for its mozzarella, don't we? A little bit of sun-dried tomato on top of it. We're probably not as famous for our sun-dried tomatoes. And I'm going to pop these in the oven just for a couple of minutes, just to warm them through. I don't need them hot. I was actually asked that question in a restaurant. Oh, please, God, don't let the woman be on the other side of this. One time, did we do our own sun-dried tomatoes? I live in Kerry. It's been raining for 3 million years. Don't think so. So, everything out of the way, because that literally just needs to be warmed through, all right? So we have our main course. We have our dessert. And in the middle now we're going to have, you can call them starters if you wish. Actually, there'd be a nice starter on Christmas. Well, not so much Christmas Day. You'll be stressed out enough as it is. But if you did one of each, yeah, why not? Food's all about experimenting. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We get it wrong a hell of a lot more times than we get it right. Literally 30 seconds. So, recap. Anything that we could have done differently? No, it's just, it is important with the ham that you add it near the end of the cooking process. If we put it on first and started frying, that ham would be burnt and charred, and it just wouldn't be nice. So it's on it long enough for the flavour to start permeating into the meat, okay? The cooking of the meat, the way I did it, that's my way of doing it. You will be told 150 times by 150 different people. There's all sorts of different ways of doing it. I just find it works for me. It takes the stress out of it as well. You're not trying to get everything cooked at the same time, and it sneaks up on it and it's nice and tender. And as I said, the canapes, I like them just that little bit bigger because I think, look, what are you talking about? A couple of cents. You're offering better value. Plus, you don't need to do as many, and people see the value in it. For anybody out there that doesn't work, which I assume there's a few of you don't work in this industry or the catering industry, one of the most disheartening things is, but it's a good disheartening thing, when you spend hours upon hours upon hours doing, quite a large volume of really, really nice canapes, and, you put your heart and soul into it, and they're like children to you, and then in about 35 seconds, bang, it's all gone, done. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you learned something, which is the most important thing about it. There's absolutely no point unless you learn something. Definitely try them out over Christmas. And don't forget, we're here in Westside Training Centre. You can probably see from the camera, the facilities here, they're second to none. So if any of you do decide you want to go into this crazy business for a living, this is the place to do it. So happy Christmas, guys. Take care.